Welcome to the Sailor Moon Fan Club podcast. I'm your host, Victoria L. Johnson, and I'm here with the original voice actress for Sailor Jupiter from the 90s dub / DiC / Cloverway dub of Sailor Moon, which is when so many of us got into the series. So I'm super excited to have her on the show. It's a truly iconic moment. So I want to welcome Susan Roman. Hey, Susan.
Hi, Victoria. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. It's really nice to talk with you because I did listen to your podcast with Amanda Miller, and she is absolutely one of my favorite voice actors / people on the planet. She's just so terrific, so full of life, she's so funny. Let's just put it that way. She's just like one of those people who are automatically funny. Like she'll just, let slide these little comments every now and again in a kind of a really low key way, and you're just laughing your head off. So the idea that I met her, at a Comic-Con because she was being introduced as playing Sailor Moon, what planet am I on? She was playing Sailor Jupiter in the new dub. And I just thought she was terrific. So after that, I would see her at different Comic-Cons, and I just think she's terrific. And I think she did a terrific job. Wow. So, I haven't seen all that many episodes of the new dub, but I certainly have seen scenes and a couple of episodes. And I just my hat's off to her. I think she really made it her own, and that's sometimes not easy if you've got a certain voice in your head that you heard from childhood, and then you have to recreate that voice. I would think that would be really quite challenging, because you always want to put your own stamp on something, but then you get so influenced by someone else's read, so you have to be careful. But then if you happen to sound a little bit like the person, then it just is what it is. So you kind of have to get to the point where you just relax and say, okay, I'm going to make this my own. This is my baby from here on in. And she did that. And I think, she's written a lot about how much the show influenced her when she was younger. So to be able to play the character that meant something to you when you were young and then get to play it as an adult, well, I can't imagine anything making someone happier. I just cannot imagine what that must feel like. So it's all good.
Yeah, it's so wonderful.
Yeah, I think it is.
It is, yeah, especially when I spoke to her. I'm so glad you listened to the interview, and I'm so happy you guys are fans of each other. It was because just to play to be the voice actress for the same animation that you watched growing up is such a really cool moment, and to play like your favorite character too. I know she's very happy about that.
That's insane. And the thing is, I know that she said, I think she read for every single character in the show. So it was, well, so did I. We all, when we first, when they were first casting the original dub, the entire city came out to audition for that show. Wow. And it was all, kind of top secret. And then everyone was saying, what is this? What is anima? So people didn't even know how to pronounce it. It was so funny. Everyone's just going, what? Anyway, so everybody read for every single character. And if you don't know anything about it, it's just, they all get sort of confused and muddled up in your brain. So, I know when I went home after I auditioned for every character that there was, I thought, oh, I'd really like to play Sailor Moon because she had the most lines. Of course, you want to play the character with the most lines.
Right.
That's how it works. And I didn't really focus all that much on the other characters, but I do remember specifically saying, well, if I didn't get Sailor Moon, I really think that I would like to do play Sailor Jupiter, because I thought, just from the lines that we were given at the audition, she felt not that she was that close to me personally, although she was. I liked the fact that she was so different than any other female cartoon character, because in those days it was all cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
There was no anime whatsoever.
Right.
And she was so different. And so, because all the girl characters were, just more into their appearance and, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And so there's this character who's, she's got anger management issues. She's feisty. She's just all the things that a real person is, all the different characteristics that a real teenage girl has were there. So I said, I really like this character. So actually when my agent called and said, well, you didn't get the part of Sailor Moon. And I said, okay, fine. But you did get a part, and it's a character called, I think it's one of the planets. I said, yeah, I know that. They're all planets.
Really narrows it down.
Yeah, really narrows it down. Thanks a lot. But, I mean, it was all so new. It was so new. And, yeah. So when we went in that first day, they showed us the original Japanese dub with no subtitles. And we all sat there, and it was just so hard to follow if you're first. I don't know. Have you ever seen the dub in Japanese without the subtitles?
Not without subtitles. I can only imagine. Like, I couldn't, I don't know, because since I know the show now, I could figure it out. But without any context, right. I can't. That would be very difficult. I have watched other anime or some Korean dramas actually without subtitles and tried to follow along, and that's difficult.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You just get lost, and you can't, because there's so much action. And the one that they showed us, it was just action packed, like a lot of fighting against the Negaverse and a lot of big warlike scenes, and we're all sitting there going, what's going on? Like, it was, but on the other hand, we were all fascinated by the animation itself. I mean, of course, I had never seen animation like that, ever. And the thing that I loved was that it wasn't pretty. So sometimes, especially Sailor Moon's facial expressions. I mean, they were hysterical.
Yeah.
The idea that you can actually portray a female character looking goofy, looking silly, looking, so it looking real, because sometimes you end up looking, you look the way you look, and you make facial expressions that are very broad sometimes, and that's all part of, being a real human being. So when I looked at the animation, I thought, this is terrific. And of course, what you're trying to do is make your performance match what you're seeing on the screen. So it was pardon me, it was one of the most animated animations I'd ever seen. I'm like, whoa, oh, I guess she's angry, judging by the face that I'm seeing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, red and everything.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it wasn't a dainty little show. It was not dainty. Then I loved that. That was so terrific.
Yeah, I saw too. I watched an interview or Q&A you did at a convention, and you mentioned that you used to go in wearing boots sometimes and have your hair in a ponytail when you were.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was so cool.
Well, the boots, that really helped. When you're if you're standing there in sandals and being all relaxed, and then you're having to do this fight scene, and when you have boots on, it just makes you stand taller, and it makes you feel, it's a little bit of method acting, I guess. Mm-hmm. But it really helps. And the thing is that the people who did the casting, actually there was basically one person who did the casting, and it was really ironic that when we all showed up that first day, we kind of looked around and nobody had to say, oh, what part are you reading? Because we all looked like the character we were going to be playing. Wow. So it was the oddest thing. So Katie Griffin, who played Sailor Mars, comes in and she's got this long head of black hair, straight all the way down her back. And I'm thinking, oh my God, that's kind of weird. And then I wonder, that's interesting. And then I realized, I mean, there am I. I've got my hair up in a ponytail. It's brown. And I said, oh, wow. And Stephanie Morgenstern has this long, Sailor Venus has this long blonde hair. So it was really interesting. I think that there was a little bit of method acting going on with the person who was doing the casting. Because I think she thought, well, if they look like the characters, maybe they'll play the characters better. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
Something worked right.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was a really, really good cast.
Yeah, definitely.
All the way down the line. Yeah.
I mean, memorable to this day. So.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Yeah. I also saw us in the same one, and I'm hoping you can sort of recant the story. Is that someone asked you, I think in that same interview, what's the wildest thing that's ever happened to you?
Right. So, I'm so glad you brought that. So, no, it's just one of those times where, you're really young and inexperienced actress, and your, agent doesn't do some good investigative background research and just sends you off to a voiceover job and just says, so they just want you to do some dubbing for a film. And so I said, okay, great. Oh, that sounds like fun. I hadn't done a lot of dubbing. I was really, really young. And I walk in and I ask, so where's the script? And they said, you don't need a script. Well, that's hint number one that this is not going to go well. And so then I walked into the room and they put the footage up on the screen, and it was a pornographic film. And they wanted me to make the panting noises of the actress on the screen. And I said, oh, man. And my thought, I'm going to kill my agent.
As you should.
But this was an agent from, as I said, it was 4,000 years ago. I don't even remember who that agent was. I think I left that agency soon after. And so I said, okay, all right. So I start, and in my mind, I'm like, never again. I will never find myself put in a stupid, horrible situation like this. I hate this. And then I look up at the screen, and it turns out that I knew the actress playing the part. And I was like, oh, no. And I never, ever mentioned that to her. It was funny, though. But I remember at that Comic-Con, during that panel, John Stalker mentioned that he had done some work on that particular film as well. And I said, you're kidding. I said, both of us were on that horrible. And he said, well, you got to do what you got to do. It's different if you're a guy, I think it's, they just say, oh, well, whatever. If you're a woman, it's, oh man, I was so uncomfortable. I just, anyway, so that was the one and only time.
Right.
But that something, horrible like that ever happened. So
yeah.
Thank God for that.
Yeah, definitely. Thank God you were safe and made it out and, didn't have to encounter that again.
Oh, you know, I was completely safe because that went on to be, this particular film went on to become like an underground cult classic.
Oh, wow.
Really? Actually, I feel like, I was like looking it up and seeing if I could find it on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I want to see it.
Right.
God,
to see how it's going.
Oh, God. I mean, just, yeah, maybe it's time to just let that one go. That was just so many years ago. I can't even. My God.
I just remember when I heard it on that Q&A, I was just like, this is such a wild story, and then just the fact that you knew the actress, and it seemed like so much, but yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, there's a lot of strange stuff that happens.
Well, on the more positive side, how do you have a favorite role that you've played?
Oh gosh, there's so many. I would say, for sure, Sailor Jupiter, Alita is probably my favorite role of all. Mm-hmm. I would say probably my second one. I did an animated series called The Adventures of Tintin, mm-hmm. and I played Snowy the dog, and I thought that was pretty much the height of excellence. So what are you going to do today? So my sister sometimes would call and say, so what are you doing today? And I said, well, I'm just going to go downtown and bark for half an hour, and then I'm going to come home. And she said, bark? I said, yeah, I'm doing the voice of a little dog in an animated series, and the dog has no dialogue, but he just barks. But I'd get my script. I'd get the barking script, and it was I just thought it was a chance to be really creative because the dog was always falling off buildings and drowning. He had a lot of water emergencies. And so what I would do is I would just fill, instead of having tea in my cup, I would just have water in my cup. And then I would, as the dog was getting ready to, go underwater, I would just take a sip of water and go, but try to do it with dog sounds. And and then I started choking on the water, and I said, okay, that wasn't a good idea. I don't want to die, because you're afraid that the water's going to actually go down. Instead of going down your esophagus, it's going to go into your lungs. And I said, no, I don't think I'm going to do this anymore. I'll just pretend. So it was hysterically fun. I just loved it. And let's see. I liked playing little boys. I did quite a few little boy characters through the years, and I loved that because there was a certain amount of freedom that goes along. I know it sounds odd, but little girl characters usually, well, except for Sailor Moon, but little girl characters are usually a little more, a little more by the book, a little tighter, a little more controlled. Mm-hmm. Well, they were in those days for sure. I mean, they didn't really get all that angry or all that sad. They just were sort of kind of mainlining their way through every single episode. Mm-hmm. But when you were, I didn't mean mainlining, I meant flatlining. Oh. There we go. Mainlining. No drugs in animation. So the little boy character, suddenly you have all this freedom, and you just feel, when you walk out of there, you just feel like, boom, 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 bah. I can't believe it. I got a home run. And it just gives you that kind of energy, you just want to say, okay, I'm ready to attack the world. And so you would walk out, and for like the first hour or so after you finish recording, you just have this real kind of buoyant attitude. And then as time goes by, you realize, oh, I guess I better put my female self on now. Mm. But that was fun. And I still like doing those kinds of characters because it just, it's good for all of us to find our own inner little boy and our own inner little girl. Yeah. Just kind of, that's the great thing about doing working in animation, is that you get to discover other facets. But what you're making me think of is that I'm pretty sure I have never this is a real lack in my life. I have never played a villain.
Oh.
Now, why is that, do you think?
I don't know. That would be fun. That's a real let loose character.
No kidding. That would be like the epitome of letting loose.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I would never even audition. I would never be asked to read for a villain. Yeah, I should correct that.
Yeah.
I have to find my inner villain, Victoria.
Yeah.
Everybody's got an inner villain.
Yeah.
If you're an actor, you just go deep inside and say, "Oh, where did that come from?" Right. Oh my goodness.
Would you want to be like a fun villain or a sinister, or I'm trying to think of what other villains are there? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, if you're going to be bad, you may as well go all the way.
That's true.
You know?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Oh, I hope I see you play a villain soon. That'd be fun.
Thank you.
My childhood self might like split my brain like, Taylor Jupiter's a villain, but I'll get over it.
Oh, that's true. I think it just like taint the whole. Well, I'm sure Amanda has played villains. I'm sure she has.
She might have.
She? Oh, I'll have to look that up.
But she does play Baruto though, who's a little boy, and she talked a little bit about the same thing about like that being really fun for her to play.
Yeah.
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 Look at her.
Well, her voice completely lends itself to that, right? Mm-hmm. To getting into that. And you see, when you get into the whole little boy, little girl thing, the male female thing, mm-hmm. in younger terms, it's not so much. I mean, the sound of the voice is important, but if you wander around and you listen to little kids talking, little boys don't always have raspy voices. Sometimes they have very clear voices, and if you closed your eyes, sometimes you wouldn't even be able to tell if it's a little boy talking or a little girl talking, right? Because sometimes their voices are very clear and at the same sort of pitch as the little girls, but of course before their voices change. So as I was saying, it's more of an attitude and also energy placement. Mm-hmm. So I discovered this many, many moons ago that sometimes little girls, all their energy is kind of pulled in. So, and of course, I'm generalizing like crazy here, and I don't mean to, but generally, so they might pull in. So it would sound like on an inhale, on an inward breath. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to go. I just wanted to. It's all coming back in, whereas the little boy is pushed out. Yeah, little girl. Yeah. You see the difference? So one is like more on a sort of an energy coming into the body, like a tide, and the other one's like energy going out, like the tide going out. And so if you just focus your mind on where to place your breath and your energy, suddenly you can get a real handle on how that child would sound. It's all about breath. I mean, the whole world of voiceover is about breath and the placement of the sound in your head or if it's, focused at the back of your throat, or is it focused more at the front of your mouth? Is it in your nose? Is it in your chest? Are you the kind of person who talks like that, where all the energy is? Like I've got my hand on my chest right now and I can feel the vibrations down there. Or is your energy up in your nose? And so, if you talk like that, so it's just, all it is my energy is up here, right? Mm. So many times people say, how do you create all these different characters? And it's just experimenting with all the places your breath can take you and all the places. So if you imagine in your mind, I'm going to put all my energy, I'm going to focus all my energy at the back of my nose. And now I'm going to focus all my energy at the bottom of my throat at the back. And all of a sudden, you've got all these different sounds coming out. It's absolutely astonishing. So it's not I think everybody can do it. It's just that they don't know how until, some people find it all by themselves, and then other people, I've worked with people, I've been doing coaching lately, and we start exploring, and I can't believe what the things that they're able to find. Like, wow, I didn't know I could do that. Yeah, you can. You totally can.
Yeah, I'm thinking now too. I'm like, what can I do?
You can't. Like in this kind of thing, you just go away by yourself in a room that's got a good echo and just try. Just try all the things I just talked about, and you'll say, listen to me. That's amazing. So,
that's cool.
Yeah, it's always fun. You're always learning.
Well, I have to ask now, where do you put your breath, or how do you maneuver your body, I guess, to get Sailor Jupiter?
That's very, very close to my own way of talking, with added maybe a little bit of, there's definitely tomboy in there, so I did that on purpose. Sometimes I read, I don't read them very often because sometimes it can, put you off your day forever if you read bad things. But actually there's quite a lot, people are very kind. But I've heard people say, and they're always males who say it, I think she sounds too much like, Sailor Jupiter sounds too much like a boy. And all the girls write back and go, what are you talking about? She sounds like, there are a lot of girls who sound like that. Like, shut up. And because like what that commenter was probably meaning was she doesn't sound like a stereotypical girl. And I did that on purpose. I mean, Lita is not a stereotypical girl. So I've got to convey that barely contained, it's not anger, but there's an energy there that's just ready to erupt. So that's always got to be there, that kind of energy. So in terms of me preparing for that, all it is just making sure that I am absolutely every minute suffused with air and oxygen and purpose, right? I can't just stand there all relaxed and say, oh, well, how's it do? No, that's just not her energy at all. So as long as I have that going on, or had that going on, it was terrific. I just felt exactly, the placement was exactly where it should be. And again, I really like that. I loved that idea that every single one of those planetary teenagers were so different from each other. That was so brilliant because it meant that it addressed quite a few different personality types of, little girls who are watching the show, and to see themselves represented where they had never seen themselves represented before, ever. And suddenly, so like, the like people who were, very, very into studying and maybe a little bit nerdish or geekish or whatever, suddenly they see themselves portrayed on TV, and they suddenly, I'm not alone. Look at that. There she is. There's someone who's just like me. Or someone like Lita, who is so tall compared to all the rest of the girls in the class or in the school, and who's not a girly girl. I always thought that was just so genius and so brilliant. And of course it was created by a female. I mean, hello. To have girls represented in so many different varieties and types, so that all the little girls watching, or the big girls or whoever, or the women, whatever, can find someone to relate to. I mean, that's the genius of the whole thing. And just to know that you're not alone. I mean, that's it. You're not alone. Look, there's this, I know it's an imaginary character, but for that half hour that you're watching it, it's not imaginary. It's completely real, right, in your mind. And then you take that with you and you go, okay, there we go. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to put on a pair of green boots and just go and tell people what I think.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I think that comes up a lot on this podcast, just how different the characters were, and that, you know, you got to see like Amy, Sarah Mercury, who's like smart and, you know, into school, but also like she's powerful and strong and can, you know, as a fighter, you know, as a Sailor Scout.
Yes.
And then, you know, same thing like you said with Sailor Jupiter, you know, she's this tomboy and she, you know, loves cooking, but she's also like a fighter. And the Sailor Moon, she's clumsy and like silly, but also like is powerful. So it's a really powerful show, like you just said. Absolutely.
Well, I think I mean, it's unfortunate about, you know, the whole COVID situation has put Comic-Cons in danger for, I guess, the foreseeable future. I don't know what's going to happen with that. But I feel so grateful that I was able to go to so many and meet people who were influenced by that show profoundly. I mean, I used to, you know, at the end of the day, we would go back to our hotel rooms and it was like, what just happened? Because we're meeting people and, you know, people sometimes when they're, you know, they're maybe a little shy or nervous about meeting you. And so when you're maybe a little anxious like that, you tend to be a little more emotional. So I think people's emotions were, you know, maybe a little more visible and a little more accessible.
Right.
And it was so amazing. You almost can't take it all in because you realize this person, like some people were, you know, a little bit more, hey, I really liked you and I liked the show and I thought you were my favorite character. They're a little more blasé. But then there were people who, they looked in your eyes and said, you were my childhood. I looked up to you. And then you'd start talking and they'd hear your voice and then they go right back to childhood because the voice is, and that they heard is now standing there talking to them. And I would just have to say, it was an astonishing experience for the fans who came to say hello to us and 50 times more astonishing for us because we had no idea that the show had that kind of impact. We had no idea. No, not a clue. Right. I don't think I ever saw it on the air. Okay. I didn't even know when it was on. I mean, you'd think that they would tell us or something. Oh, by the way, it's on this network, blah, blah. No, they just say, oh, goodbye.
Yeah.
So, it
and
was wonderful.
Was that like one of the first conventions you're talking about that you went to and kind of noticed the impact? Or just like continuously over the years?
Continuously. I haven't been to one where I did not become flabbergasted by the outpouring. And a lot of people, it was really difficult for them to come up to our table or to come up to my table and talk to me. I know that it was difficult. I could see how difficult it was. But they did it, you know, they did it. They forced all their courage and everything they possibly could force inside them or push and sometimes literally quivering. And it just so profoundly affected me. Oh, I'm going to start crying. It makes you realize that there are quite a few people out there who have not had an easy time of it, right? Mm-hmm. And to think that you might have been a little bit of a help, well, you just, it humbles you and you feel such grace that you got to find out that you know, just from going in and doing your job the best way that you possibly could have that kind of a long-term effect on someone else's and on a lot of someone else's. It's the kind of thing that you come home and you say, well, you know, a lot of people say, what is it you do for a living? Is it like really important? Like it's like, what kind of a frivolous life do you lead voicing animation? And then now I think, wait a second, hold the phone. I think it's a little more important than that. If you get involved in a project like Sailor Moon, if you have the incredible good fortune, then you did do something important. And so I think that's, when we come home and on the plane, we'd be just silent, like we're just spent, right? And we're all sitting there in our own little memory bubbles, remembering the things that have been said to us, the wonderful things that have been said, and the tears that have been shed, and the emotions that have been expressed. And we just think, wow, how lucky are we that we got to kind of see the fruit of our labors, that we kind of got to see the resolution of something that was done so many years ago. So yeah, it's very, 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 very special to me. Yeah. More than I can ever say.
That's wonderful. That's so nice. I feel happy now. I'm so happy you get to see, I'm so happy the fans get to, tell you how much you meant to them, and you get to see how much you meant to them as well, and get to feel that.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask too, so what advice would you have for someone who wants to come up to you at a convention, and what advice would you have for someone who wants to get into voice acting?
Well, I think things have changed so much now with this virus about approaching people and touching people. I have no idea.
I mean, in a post-COVID environment, hopefully.
Yeah, well, what used to happen is that people would just come up to our table and I would always shake everyone's hand because I want to touch them. I want to, establish a connection. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes if they got really, really upset or overcome, I would say, is it okay if I hug you? And I'd come around and we'd have a little hug. And then, but now God only knows what's going to happen as far as that goes. Yeah. So which is such a pity. Mm-hmm. In terms of getting involved in animation and voice work, it's something that it's a really good idea if you can to find someone to take some courses with, because otherwise you're just kind of out there and you're flying blind. But if you can take a few courses, and now, there's a lot of online coaching, and it's amazing, how well it works. Because you could really, you get your good microphone and good speakers hooked up to Zoom or Skype or whatever. Google Meet is also, I'm kind of a big fan of that. Mm-hmm. You can set it up so that it's almost like being together. And that if you have something under your belt, some words of wisdom, some words of advice, like just some simple basic techniques that you can work on by yourself. If you do get the chance to go in and audition for something, you're going to feel a lot more confident about what you're doing, because you might be saying, am I doing this too broadly? Is it too big? Is it too little? How do I find out what's exactly, the right level to play? And those are all things that a vocal coach or an animation coach is going to tell you right away. I always say, we're on a scale of 1 to 10 here. Okay, so I think you can really understand things. Most people, I do, numerically. So we're on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 is like breaking the speaker, breaking the microphone level. And right now you're at a 12. So it's too big, right? Okay, so let's think of bringing it down to a 5. So little, and then you try that. Well, that was not quite big enough. Let's bring it up to a 7. So little by little, once you're working with a coach, you find out what your levels are, just as something as simple and basic as that. And that gives you confidence, because then, you're standing in front of this thing called a microphone, and it's a foreign object. I've stood in front of microphones for years. Like it feels like 1,000 years. I mean, I can't imagine my life without standing in front of a microphone with a music stand and reading words. So it's all second nature to me now. But I realize when I speak with people and I'm coaching people that they're kind of a little bit lost, and so sometimes people are afraid of their voice and the sound level, and so they'll back off the mic, so we lose half the performance. And that has to be addressed. And once it's addressed, once you figure it out, you go, oh, okay, that's it, and you fix it, and you move on. But I know what the feeling must be like to be saying, what the heck do I do? Where do I start? And the best thing to do is, if you want to start, is learn by listening. So you take, some of those, whatever animated projects are out there that you admire, whatever characters, and just sit and listen over and over. Just take a scene, any scene that you like, that where your character has a lot of dialogue, and say, I'm going to listen to this scene 10 times in a row so I can figure out what this actor or actress did and how they did it and where the voice was placed and how loud it was in respect to the background music and how they breathed. Were they gasping for air all the way through, or was it controlled and measured? I just think you really learn a lot by listening to what other people have done. It's not copying. I don't mean that. I mean, you're listening. So you could say to yourself, I'm just going to go and listen to everything that Amanda Miller has ever done, right? I'm going to take, or 3 of her projects. I'm going to sit and I'm going to listen to like 5 episodes in a row. And trust me, by the end of it, you will have learned something. You really will. You'll start to identify what she did with her voice, how she did it, how she interpreted things, the fact that she varied her performance, that, it wasn't all one note. That's always the kind of the hallmark of a beginner, is that everything is said the same way. I think this is great. You're doing wonderful. Blah, 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 blah. It's all at the same energy level without giving some thought to the fact that every once in a while you have to slow down. And then it's interesting, right? You got to think about, we don't want to be yelled at. That's one of the things. And animation is a very high energy kind of a medium, right? It's got a lot of stuff coming at you. So, especially it's so hard, if we were talking about villains were so hard because all they do is spew out villainy. Like they rarely, it's just like blah 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 blah. So it's hard because you want to sort of vary the dialogue a little bit so that it doesn't sound all one note. So you listen, if you want to play villains, go and listen to some, just do a Google search. Who does the best voiceover villains in animation? And you might even be going back to the time of Disney and listen to what they do and the variances they can do with their voices, the variations, right? I mean, and that's the thing too, is you learn from the past. Sometimes you just got to go back and listen to the people, Mel Blanc, Hanna-Barbera, all that Disney stuff, Bugs Bunny. Listen, wow, you listen to him. Oh
Bugs
my
Bunny, yeah. Talk about fluctuations.
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly. You hit the nail on the head. You hit the nail on the head. Yeah. And so, so we have to. Sometimes we can learn an amazing amount from masters of the past, and then we take that knowledge, and we update it, right? And then it becomes new. So that's my that's my deep philosophical moment.
That is very helpful. I'm even like, maybe how can I apply this? And then what would you say to a fan who's like, in a post-COVID world, where conventions are normal again, and they want to approach you, but they're kind of nervous?
Well, as I say, we're usually set up at tables, and we're doing autographs, and then we're always set up to have panels, and then after the panel, we come down from the stage and there are usually, people hanging around that just want to say hello in person. Mm-hmm. We don't usually have a lot of time to hang around there, but that's where we meet a lot of people. The one thing is that's not so great is, when we're going from one event to the other and we're walking along the hallways, that's not a great time because they're going, come on, you gotta go, so we can't really stop then. It kind of feels awkward if somebody comes up to you because you want to say, oh, I can't talk right now because they're really pissed off that we're late, so I gotta go. Mm-hmm. So, you'll see at most Comic-Cons, they'll always have the times that people are out, either at the autograph table or at the, at a panel, and you just make a note and then just go up and say, hi. Yeah. Just wanted to say hi. And I'll say, hi, what's your name? And that's how and that's how it goes.
Yeah. Hopefully work up those nerves first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. I'm just a regular person. My goodness. We're all regular people.
Yeah. But it means a lot to many people. You mean a lot to many people, so it's understandable.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's a nice Friday treat. I'll take that. That's so sweet.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, so I'm sure as you remember, in the original DiC, or maybe not, there was a Sailor Moon Says phrase at the end of every episode where she would kind of give like a PSA. And I think you recorded a few yourself. So what would your phrase be? So Sailor Susan says.
Sailor Susan says, hey, you know what? We are all equal and deserving, and we all are worth something. So if we're worth something, then that's the best way to be, and our worth will explode through the world, and then we'll all be filled with love and harmony. So reach out, even if somebody looks like they don't want to talk to you or they don't like you, just give it a try. See if you can get through to those people. And you never know what you're going to find on the other side. That's what I say. Sailor Jupiter says.
That was awesome.
Jupiter! Oh my God. Yes, I'm going to go outside and just yell.
Yeah.
I'm just going to yell. Yeah. And then all the neighbors are going to say, oh, I think she finally lost it.
I mean,
we wondered when that would happen.
I don't think anyone would be surprised in the year that we've had. So.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Okay. I'll put it down to COVID.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's good.
I lost it there for about 4 minutes.
Mm-hmm. And then what is next for you, and where can people find you?
At the moment, I am in the process of putting, the process. I've got to get my American pronunciation. Putting together my website, SusanRoma.com, which I've owned for quite a while and still haven't kind of gotten up and running. But what I'm doing too is working on my animation demo, because I've been taking all the stuff that I've done, compiling all the stuff that I've done over the years and trying to put it into one demo that will last like approximately 19 and a half hours at the rate I'm going. So I have to edit it. The stuff keeps coming out of the woodwork because I thought all the stuff that I had done was on IMDb, and it isn't, not by a long shot. So I keep finding stuff and I go, and people sometimes send me, they say, send me a clip from something that I had completely forgotten about, and they say, this sounds like you. Is this you? And I'm thinking, oh, God bless them. Yes, it is. Good. I can put that on my demo. But I had completely forgotten about it. Mm-hmm. So that's what the main thing that I'm doing is trying to get that up and running. And part 3 is building a studio in my house, which is taking a lot. So what's happened here, because of the virus, if you don't have a studio at home, you're kind of limiting yourself, because a lot of times they're saying we would really prefer to have task somebody who has a home studio so that we don't have to bring them downtown into the main, like a regular studio. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of put a little bit of a kibosh on things, right?
Yeah.
Because you can't. Right. So I said, oh, okay, well, I guess it's time for me finally to put together a studio for myself. So that'll be great. Once that's done, then I can say, okay, I can do auditions to my agent. I can do auditions now. I'm up and running. So, yeah, it's always something, eh? Always something.
Yeah. Well, that sounds fun, at least. Sounds like a new adventure for you.
It is a new adventure. Mm-hmm. Victoria, you are full of like really wise words today. I love it.
Thank you.
I'm going to write that on the fridge. It's an adventure.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a, oh my God, how do I do this? It's an adventure.
I'm really good at like finding new ways to brand things.
That's good. Well, that's a challenge. You can take that a long way to the bank.
Yeah.
I would say.
To find a way.
Wow.
And I just look it up. Amanda did play a villain called Flutterina in She-Ra. I forgot about it. She's kind of like this sly villain.
Oh, wow.
Not really.
What's it called again? Flutterina?
Flutterina was the character, and she played it in She-Ra on Netflix. The new She-Ra cartoon. Yeah, so hopefully we get to see you play a villain too.
Okay. Maybe we can be villainous sisters.
Ooh,
she and I.
That would be
Oh, nice, Vicky. How's that? That's my villain.
I like it.
Oh, thanks. Thanks. It sounds like really real, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Not too cliche.
Right. Just the right amount.
Just the right amount of cliche.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's it. Thank you so much for coming on the Sailor Moon Fan Club podcast.
My pleasure. This has been wonderful. Mm-hmm. I've enjoyed every single second of it.
Yay, so did I. I'm so happy we did this.
Me too. Thank you for asking me. That was really sweet.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for saying yes.
And good luck with it. I hope that your podcast does wonderful things for you.
Thank you so much. And I hope your at-home studio does wonderful things for you too. And new website.
Thanks. And my website. Yeah, that'll be great.
Yeah.
That'll be great.
Look out for it.
Yeah. we'll get that little thing off the ground one of these days.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
At least I have the domain. Okay.
Right.
Yes.
That's important. Domain is the most important thing.
Yeah. With my name, no less. I mean, I thought I was pretty lucky.
Yeah, that's extremely lucky. I didn't get my name, so you are very lucky.
Yep. Yeah, that's why I had to snap it up. Mm-hmm. I think it cost all of like $7.43, so it wasn't a popular item.
Oh, it might be now. You never know.
Oh, you never know.
Yeah.
Okay, Victoria, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
And good luck, and enjoy your weekend.
You too.